What's up, everybody? James Duggan here with Matt Kim for IGN. We're going to be talking about Blizzcon 2019, what to expect. We're definitely going to talk about Hong Kong protests, things of that nature. We're probably going to save that for the end. Let's start out with the obvious, which are the leaks. There's a lot of leaks happening.
Yes,
pretty
so
major
many
stuff. So why don't we start out with Overwatch 2? What do we know about that?
Yeah, so this was a pretty major leak that happened either recently or long ago, depending on who you ask. ESPN got the drop this week on Overwatch 2 details, but Kotaku actually hinted at Overwatch 2 earlier this year. But essentially, it's sounding similar to like a Fortnite Chapter 2, where it's not like a full sequel, but like additional content that they're adding in. There's like a big PvE mode that they're talking about.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
We had the Nemesis event and then the Retribution event, and one of the strangest experiences I've had in this industry was going down. I remember my press contact over at Blizzard was like, this was a year or two ago, come on down, we got this huge announcement for Overwatch. It's really important to the story. And we get there and there's like more outlets than I've ever seen at the Blizzard campus, and it ends up being for Retribution. And it was great to go down there and chat with the devs and play, but it was like ultimately 8 minutes of gameplay.
Right.
And so it was a lot of effort for not necessarily a lot of payoff. So, but I think the connotation everybody walked away from that event with was, they're definitely interested in exploring the narrative space more than they have been, and in a greater capacity than they have been with like the extended universe stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. PvE is a great sort of like avatar or medium for story stuff rather than just, competitive PvP mode. So I think it'll be really interesting if it pans out.
Yeah, and I think that there's a whole, I think that the more that Overwatch has matured, the less accessible it has become.
Yeah.
When I played in the beta, you'd have, before they even had the ability to not have duplicate heroes, you'd have teams with 3 tracers. There was no meta.
Yep.
We're all just having fun shooting each other in the head, and I, anytime I jump in it recently, it seems very strict and rigid in terms of the meta. It seems very spongy and like not necessarily as fun for me as it used to be. But I know a lot of people really enjoy it from a competitive sense, but I do think that shouldn't necessarily be mutually exclusive with being able to access the story.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, next big thing is an announcement that we've been waiting for years and have been kind of teased for years.
Yeah.
And this is Diablo 4. I think that the first kind of official inklings of Diablo 4 came right before last year's BlizzCon, which we all saw how that panned out.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
When Blizzard's or Diablo, their official social team tweeted out this video saying, stay tuned for later this year.
Yep.
We have a lot of announcements, and whether or not they were alluding to Diablo 4 is open for debate, but certainly that's how it was taken by the community. And then, of course, Diablo Immortal was announced, and everybody was disappointed, but this year, hopefully,
yeah,
the case.
Not the best planned rollout last year.
No, not the best plan, but we have some evidence to back it up, at least this year. There was a photograph of a German art book magazine which teased art from Diablo 2, 3, and 4, and then to kind of further legitimize that leak, there was a picture of Lilith with a whole description that seemed very savvy in terms of the lore. Lilith, for those who aren't super into Diablo lore, is the daughter of Mephisto, Lord of Hatred, which was a boss in Diablo 2.
Yep.
I play a lot of Diablo. And you actually got to fight Lilith in the Diablo Pandemonium event as a means to access Uber Tristram. So definitely some legitimate lore behind that. And if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but I would bet a lot of money on the fact that Diablo 4 is going to be announced.
Yeah, it's either a leak or a really good fake. And I feel like it's too much effort to put into a fake.
Absolutely. So what do we think about Diablo 4 in the context of that Jason Schreier article a while back that was kind of speculating it was going to be more of a Dark Souls-esque ARPG?
Yeah. I recall that article. Wasn't it planned that way before they decided to go more traditional?
Maybe. I think that, this is all conjecture based on non-official sources. It's all based upon leaks and things like that. But as a fan, I think that would be a mistake because I really think that the isometric action RPG genre is synonymous with Diablo.
Right.
And I also feel that there's a lot of space left to be explored in that particular genre mechanically.
Yeah.
And they hit on something fun with Diablo 3. With that said, I'd like for it to be more team-based and tactical and less spammy.
Yeah. And I think after the long wait, fans are looking for a return to form,
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that a lot of the motifs that led to the success of World of Warcraft originated in Diablo and Diablo 2. So, yeah, I'd like to see what they're going to be doing there. And then finally, before we get into politically driven stuff, let's talk about this new World of Warcraft expansion leak, which again, this strikes me as something that's probably pretty legit. They have a 2-year cadence generally with their retail expansions. And just going over it super quickly, it's Shadowlands and kind of focuses on Bolvar 4 Dragon, who is the new Lich King, and there was an art print that leaked with him with the Lich King's helm with blue eyes. Yeah. Really nice looking cinematic. And that's exciting to me from a narrative standpoint, but conversely, I'm not going to play it because I'm too busy playing Classic, and Classic is, my jam.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
Again, either good fake or a leak.
Good fake or leak, we won't know. But I would be really interested to see, I think what would be more exciting for me as a WoW fan would be what is happening next with Classic. Because there are these phases, and eventually we're going to get to Naxxramas, which is the final phase, and does it just exist in that point, and it was just kind of a remaster or something for the old fans, or are they going to make a separate timeline of content or release Burning Crusade? That would be what was interesting to me, but that's a whole other argument.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about what we're going to be seeing at BlizzCon, not from Blizzard, from protesters and the fans and the like.
Yes, yeah. The big shadow hanging over BlizzCon this year is obviously the fallout from what happened with Hearthstone Pro, Blitzchung.
Yep.
Internet advocacy group Fight for the Future have already announced plans to organize a peaceful umbrella protest at BlizzCon, and there's already some traction there. So at the very least, there is going to be some protest presence at BlizzCon. The question now is how Blizzard will they acknowledge it? Will they just try their best to ignore it? Maybe all the big announcements that have leaked can paper over it for them. But it will be interesting to see what happens.
I think that last thing you said is probably a little bit eerily accurate. I think that this is a weird thing to say, but I think that the outrage regarding Blitzchung and the whole concept of corporate morality and ethics, which I think is an incredibly important thing, not just for gaming, but for the world and the future in general, will probably be less prevalent if they have some major announcements.
Right.
Which is kind of weird.
It is weird. It is weird. I think based on the internet chatter and the things that I'm seeing on social media, it's sort of wavering, but it does seem like interest in Hong Kong and Blitzchung is still pretty strong going into BlizzCon, especially that there's only, 4 days left before the event? Yeah.
I'm just taking a big breath before we start yelling during BlizzCon. But, I think that part of the conversation and certainly part of the narrative coming out of BlizzCon in regards to press outlets like ours is going to be asking some folks at Blizzard what's up, and where they stand on things like providing an agnostic platform. When you make a product and then it becomes a sport, is there an obligation morally for the athletes in that sport to be able to have a voice? And I also just think there's a huge disparity between the ethics that they preach in their video games like Overwatch and the ethics that were displayed with the whole Blitzchung thing.
It's true. It's a major thing for them leading up to their biggest event, so it'll be wild.
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah.
In any case, regardless of what happens, I think this is going to be, as somebody who's been going to the past 5 BlizzCons, this is going to be the most exciting BlizzCon that I've ever been to. And I think whether you're a fan or whether you're just kind of tangentially interested in it from a political standpoint, it's going to be something to pay attention to. And that is this Friday, November 1st. And for all things BlizzCon, you're already in the right place. You're at IGN.